Welcome everybody to the Crib. This is going to be our first episode of To the Crib podcast on the YouTube channel. Now we do have the Nuggets of Gold background, and that was formerly the name of the show. Now, still going to do a lot of 49ers content. Today we're going to be talking about the 49ers offensive coordinator position. However, me, Ricky, you guys have probably seen Ricky a couple times if you've been listening to the show for a while, but Ricky and I are going to be talking a lot about NFL. Aiden and me are still going to be doing the 49ers show, and Aiden's also going to be talking about NFL with us as well. So going to be doing a lot more content, a lot more draft content, so a lot of NFL and then NFL draft content, but we are still going to be doing 49ers content as well, and it will be very, very easy to tell that it's 49ers content because the thumbnails are going to be very recognizable as they're going to be, gold, red, those kind of colors as you've seen in the past. So it's going to be pretty clear which is the 49ers segment, which isn't if you are just trying to look for 49ers content, but we want to talk about a lot of NFL stuff. So for today's episode, we're going to be going over our top 4 candidates to replace Mike McDaniel as offensive coordinator, as he was just hired by the Miami Dolphins, or is expected to be hired by the Miami Dolphins. So
it was made official.
It was made official? Okay, so it was made official a little earlier this evening. But basically, we're going to go through our top 4 guys. These are the guys that we've kind of thought are the best names. This isn't necessarily like a true rumor or anything like that. But number 1, we'll get straight into it. Pep Hamilton is my guy, and that is also Ricky's guy as well. So you look at Pep Hamilton, and you see a resume that has a lot of success with young quarterbacks. And to me, that is what puts him at number 1. Obviously, the biggest like facet of this job is going to be developing Trey Lance. That is the number 1 priority. So the thing that they're going to really try to do, what I think, is they hired Anthony Lynn as a run game coordinator. We're going to talk about him a little later, but he's most likely going to be doing more of the run game stuff, and the offensive coordinator, or who has ever brought in as a passing game coordinator, maybe they don't have an offensive coordinator. I think they do, and I think he's that passing game guy, but he's going to be working a lot with Trey Lance. Pep Hamilton is a guy that you really want to do that. At Stanford and then in Indianapolis, he worked a ton with Andrew Luck. How about a guy that was a really, really good quarterback from the jump? I mean, he started his career, the Colts won 3 games, and they won 11 games and had a playoff, made the playoffs. So that's a guy that did really, really well early on. Then you look at a couple other guys. He also coached for Michigan, and then he also coached for Justin Herbert in 2020, and then last year, Davis Mills for 2021. Obviously, Davis Mills not a really very, very talented quarterback, but he looked pretty good last year when you compare him to other rookies in the league. And we had a lot of guys that struggled a lot early on, like Zach Wilson. And Davis Mills looked a lot better than I expected. And I think a lot better than what he should have looked for a rookie quarterback. And I think Pep Hamilton is a guy that just makes your quarterback that much better, especially early on. And that's what his resume says. So, Ricky, how are you feeling about Pep Hamilton as the Niners' number 1 offensive coordinator candidate?
I love Pep Hamilton, especially for working with Trey Lance. I think getting someone who can make a quarterback's life easier is really important for the Niners. They already have an established run game, and especially with the fact that Kyle's still going to be calling plays, I think this is a great role for him to really learn from Kyle and really understand what he's doing. And I also think it's a great stepping stone for him to eventually become a head coach in the NFL. Right now, he's with Houston, and I don't really know where they're going to end up with their head coaching search and whether they're going to clean house or they're going to stick with what they got. So I think moving to a very stable situation with Kyle, who's shown that guys from his tree get head coaching jobs, I think it would be a great move for both parties.
And this is definitely a guy that appears to be a pretty highly coveted guy. So this would be a huge one. Next couple guys that to go over, and this is one. I mean, Pep Hamilton is one I'd be really, really excited about. But this next one,
sorry, last thing with Pep is we talked about this earlier, but I think you mentioned it. He's already worked with Anthony Lynn too, so you already have a good dynamic between them. Look what they did with Justin Herbert; it was phenomenal. They also had a good run game there too, so it's like you can have a very well suited offense for the weapons that you guys have with both those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, Pep, I'm really excited about, like I said. But this next guy, I am also very excited about. For me, at number 2, I have Matt Schaub, and then at number 3, I have Tommy Rees. So I'm gonna go through over both these guys because Ricky has it flip flopped. He is Tommy Rees at 2, and then Matt Schaub at 3. But Matt Schaub for me is one that's very interesting. Obviously, never coached. However, he has 17 years of NFL experience. He started 93 games at the NFL level. He also basically was a backup coordinator / like almost like a coach kind of role, like a Josh McCown type for Kyle in Atlanta. when Kyle was offensive coordinator there. So this is a guy that is very familiar with Kyle. I also believe they were together when he was on the Texans for a brief time when Kyle was also there. So you have familiarity. If this is a spot where Matt Schaub is going to come to the league, I think this is another one that makes a lot of sense. Yes, having him as an offensive coordinator would be a huge step right away, but this isn't a job where he's going to be play calling. Kyle's going to be play calling, and then this way he'd also be working with Anthony Lynn. So I really like Matt Schaub at number 2. I think that he's probably the next best guy. Now, you could put Tommy Rees at number 2. I totally get it. But I would go Matt Schaub at 2. But why do you have Tommy Rees, and what do you think about Matt Schaub?
So I love the idea of Matt Schaub there. I think I brought it up a few, like when we did one of our previous videos, but I think it makes perfect sense, especially with the young quarterback. Um, with that familiarity, he can keep the same system. Most of his mentality or coaching playbook is going to be stuff that Kyle designed himself or Kyle reinforced by putting in the playbook when he was the play caller. So I love that aspect for Matt Schaub. I do also think Matt Schaub is more realistic than Tommy Rees, as Tommy Rees has been connected to the Rams, and you and I both kind of can see that fit pretty well. So Matt Schaub, I do like there as well. But Tommy Rees, I think, is a special offensive mind. We've heard it from a few different people within the game, both at the college and NFL level. He was highly touted for many of the college jobs, even the top Power 5 jobs, SEC jobs. Like he was even in the running for that Notre Dame job. He didn't end up getting it. They gave it to the defensive coordinator, but he is a phenomenal offensive mind. And I don't think we're going to see the same issues that we had with Joe Brady in Carolina. Like this guy was having a very successful run offense, a very successful quarterback friendly offense. Notre Dame hasn't had the quarterback talent recently that they've needed to keep them in the spots that they're competing at. So you can tell that he's done a great job making a very QB friendly offense, and just his ability with the run game. Like Notre Dame always has a strong run game. And he's maintained that persona. And I think he was just a great overall fit. And he said he didn't want to leave Notre Dame for another college job. Well, if Kyle Shanahan calls and is like wants to groom him as an offensive coordinator, I don't think there's a better job out there, a better fit out there. If he wants to go to Sean McVay, I think that has to do more with how the media presents Sean McVay and being in LA rather than him being a better coach than Kyle or being a better groomer for a head coaching job than Kyle. But I could see the fit.
I do think that Tommy Rees is probably more likely to join the Rams staff and be their offensive coordinator, but mostly because he's been linked there. Like that's where he's been linked. But also we've seen a lot of these McVay / Kyle guys. If they've worked with one of them, a lot of them have worked together in the same like room as both those guys. So you consistently see guys linked to both of those systems a lot. So it does make a lot of sense that he would go there, but then also be a candidate to be a Niners OC as well. So I don't know a ton about Tommy Rees. I'll tell you that. Like Ricky, I think you probably could hit a better breakdown than I did. But I do find it interesting. I don't think it's like a bad thing. I'd be happy if this was the case. And I'd be happy really for all these guys. The last guy I wanted to bring up is Anthony Lynn. Now we've talked about him as the run game coordinator. And I think there's a chance that he is the offensive coordinator. I don't think that was the plan though. Like I think that they knew that McDaniel was going to leave, and I think they brought in Anthony Lynn to take over that like run game role, but then also have the idea of adding another passing coordinator type mind, and that guy's ultimately going to be the offensive coordinator. I think that's the plan. However, it could very be likely that they brought him in. Okay, you're going to be a run game coordinator. McDaniel's gone. Okay, you're the OC now, basically. Like they just kind of did that for a second before he made his final decision. That is easily a chance. If that's the case, this another guy, like I brought up with Matt Schaub, I think it's a good spot for this situation. If you had Anthony Lynn calling plays, then I'm a little bit more skeptical. But as a run game design guy, he's very, very good at that. I think that's a spot where he would flourish in. And with Kyle, with Bobby Turner, with this coaching staff that is so nasty in the run game, with this, now, not the complete offensive line. We're going to get to that later this offseason about some of these guards, like 2 free agent guards. That's a little scary. But last year, the offensive line was one of the better ones that Kyle's had. Like, this is an area where he can flourish and he can potentially get a head coaching job again if he's going to have a chance at a second head coaching gig. So I think Anthony Lynn is definitely someone to bring up, and definitely someone that maybe everyone has kind of like a sour taste in their mouth because he coached for the Chargers. Chargers are really dysfunctional. And if you look at all their coaches, they almost always go there and then they fail. doesn't really matter like the caliber of those guys. They had a Schottenheimer. They had North Turner as an OC, and I know he was a better OC than he was head coach. But let's not act like North Turner was just like a bum coach. That was not the case. Like he was a very good mind as well. So we've seen a lot of people struggle there. And a lot of times if you're a head coach, like you got to be in a good spot. You got to be in a spot that wants to win. So I don't know if that was always the case necessarily with the Chargers when Anthony Lynn was there. Maybe a couple years with Philip Rivers when they made some noise, but I don't know. This is a chance for him to kind of get a second chance at a head coaching job and to work with Kyle Shanahan. That's like, I mean, that's one of the best spots. I mean, especially because we've seen all of these guys get hired. D'Amico's going to get hired. Back-to-back years, probably a third consecutive year. What if Anthony Lynn's the guy in year 4? That could very well be the case, which is really insane. But thoughts on Anthony Lynn to San Francisco or to an OC job?
To OC, I am a little less of a fan of it as you are. And you and I talked about this, the only reason is as someone who doesn't follow the Niners fan base as closely as you guys or probably some of your listeners, I don't know a whole lot about your tight ends coach, but I do know that your tight ends coach was released because they gave his assistant head coaching money to Anthony Lynn. So if Anthony Lynn is hired as your offensive coordinator, that kind of just as like an outside person looking in kind of is like a red flag to me. It's like you guys didn't have the foresight to plan this out to keep both your tight ends coach as an assistant head coach and Anthony Lynn as offensive coordinator. We could have delayed announcements by a day and kept 2 days and kept everyone happy. So that would frustrate me a little bit.
One quick question on that. If they hire a new tight end coach, does that make more sense then?
If they hire a better tight ends coach, that makes perfect sense. I completely understand.
So that's the big like question mark then with that.
Yes. It's just opening, and it's less about the guy in particular, but it's more so about Kyle's just had such a heavy coaching turnover the past few years that just any bit of stability that he can get, I would take unless the coach is really bad. Because I mean, I think you guys are a functional team. I think you guys progress at every position. So with those two things being the case and knowing how many coaches you lose and consistently lose, I would try and keep as much consistent as I can. So that's the only reason I'm coming from there. But like you said, Anthony Lynn was phenomenal in both Buffalo with their run game and even with the Chargers. Like, yeah, the Chargers underachieved, but they had offensive line injuries and depth problems his entire time there. And that's not fully on him. They drafted guys who were injury prone, guys got hurt. What we can say, all that all happened. They still had a very productive running game.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely true. So I think that's one that, I don't know, kind of to be determined with a lot of these guys to see, if they are really brought up. And very likely there is a chance that Anthony Lynn is just like hired tomorrow or something like that. Oh yeah, we're moving him to a head coach. And to offensive coordinator. That's something I think is very likely. If he is hired, it'll be in the next couple of days or promoted, I guess. But if any of these other guys are hired, that could happen in a couple of weeks. That could take a while. That process could be a while. Maybe a couple of these guys are linked to the Niners job, and then only one of them gets it. I would probably want to take Pep Hamilton, though. I really think that one makes the most sense out of all of them, because I think this is a spot where Pep Hamilton can come in, and like we've talked about, Anthony Lynn, becoming the offensive coordinator, then getting a head coaching job. I think Pep Hamilton has a much quicker path to get that head coaching job and a much more likely path to do that. So I think that he's probably the best bet. Schaub, obviously, that one's kind of like out of left field. We don't know if that's even an interest for him. But if he is going to make a move going into the NFL, this was a good move for him. And then Tommy Rees, same situation as Schaub. I feel like they're kind of in a similar spot. But all that said, thank you guys for listening to the first episode of To the Crib, even though it is a Nuggets of Gold kind of episode. Eventually for To the Crib, we'll have our whole background. We'll have that all set up. But we will make sure that it's clear that it's Niners content and not general NFL stuff. So, yeah, I think that's going to do it for today's episode. So thank you all for listening, and hopefully you guys enjoyed.